Top stories tonight. FCT Minister EZEWUIKE slams Rivers PDP leaders, declaring support for Governor Fubara. Urobo Union demands release of traditional ruler detained over Okwama killings. Telecoms workers to embark on strike Thursday over labor conditions. Former President Jacob Zuma files appeal against exclusion from South Africa's May election. Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity EZEWUIKE. We begin the news in Nigeria, where the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, EZEWUIKE, has described some leaders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Rivers State as political buccaneers. Wike, who was governor of the oil-rich South-South state from May 2015 to May 2023, berated PDP leaders in the state for declaring support for Governor Siminalayi Fubara. PDP leader in Rivers State, Abiye Sekibo, ex-PDP National Chairman Uche Secondus, ex-governorship aspirant Celestine Omehia, and ex-lawmaker Austin Opara had last week declared support for Fubara and called on President Bola Tinubu to caution Wike. However, reacting on Tuesday, Wike said Sekibo, Secondus, Omehia, and Opara were all expired politicians not worthy to be called elder statesmen. Kogi State youths have united to safeguard their state's dignity in a bold stance against political malpractice. Representing all three senatorial districts, members of the Kogi Independent Youths Association convened in Abuja, issuing a stern warning to errant politicians. Emphasizing the need to preserve Kogi's unity and prosperity, they urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to remain vigilant against manipulative agendas. Mohammed Abdulrazak, speaking on behalf of the youths, vowed to resist any attempts to tarnish the state's image. Expressing confidence in the EFCC's integrity, they denounced political exploitation and affirmed their commitment to upholding Kogi's honor. Meanwhile, one of our headline stories tonight, the Urobo Progress Union has demanded unconditional release of the Ovie of Ewu Kingdom, His Royal Majesty Clement Ikolo Urukpe the First, by the Nigerian Army over his alleged involvement in the killing of 17 soldiers in Okwama Community, Delta State, South Nigeria on 17th March 2024. President General of CPU, Chief Esegam, made the call at a press conference held at the Union Secretariat in Warri, Economic Nerve Center of Delta State. The president expressed the worry of the Urobo Progress Union over the development and wondered why the said persons who were never invited for questioning or refused invitation from the military before they were declared wanted. Recall that the Ovie of Ewu Kingdom and 7 other persons were declared wanted by the Nigerian military over the Okwama killings.
Professor and a king to be indulged or be involved in this kind of heinous crime, where soldiers, high-ranking soldiers were butchered. They ought to know that. They ought to know that it is not for this group of people. These are not common felons. These are distinguished persons in their own rights. Then you just declare them wanted. And I say here and there, now, on behalf of the UPU, Urobo people all over the world, that we demand an immediate release. We demand an immediate release of mostly this our king that surrendered himself. You see, there are certain times when you allow emotions to overrule you logically. It will make you room for more problems. First and foremost, if the Royal Majesty surrendered himself and is being treated this way, what will even make the other people now to surrender themselves? Common sense logic. Because this decision is based on emotions. Based on emotions. The king came, here I am. If you want to prosecute me, prosecute me. You threw him to a den of lions. What will make the other people that are invited to now come? Because they feel and they know because there's this feeling of palpable fear everywhere. You know what a soldier is. So we want to appeal to the federal government to wade into the matter, the state government too, and the local government, because we are not ready to take this matter lightly again. However it will be, let it be at this junction.
Pro-transparency group, the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking Initiative, has called on President Bola Tinubu to prevail on the House of Representatives Committees on Public Petitions to commence investigation into petitions of corrupt embezzlement by officials in 5 government agencies. The network, while listing the agencies to newsmen in Abuja, says that some officials in the Office of the Solicitor General of the Federation, the National Defense College, the Niger Delta Development Commission, the Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and the National Emergency Management Agency have questions to answer. Amadine Uyi reports.
With Nigeria currently facing severe economic challenges, many believe corruption in public service should be blamed for the current state of the nation. While the call has been made by several pro-transparency groups on citizens to join the war against corruption, Pro-Transparency Group, the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking Initiative, says that it has uncovered several financial infractions performed by several and past government officials.
Our mission today is to draw the attention of the public to our recent efforts to curb corruption in our beloved country, Nigeria. We have intercepted several financial infractions committed by persons in public office. These infractions include money laundering, massive corruption, gross abuse of public office, owning and running of private companies while in office, and false asset declarations.
We have facts and figures. They are allegations, though, okay, until proven otherwise by a court of competent jurisdiction. But our duty is to expose this thing. Let the anti-corruption agencies take it.
Representatives of NACAD say these officials have betrayed the trust of the public and should be thoroughly investigated.
These people owe us stewardship report. They are not serving themselves. They are serving Nigerian people, okay? And Nigerian people are entitled to know how they are being governed. But unfortunately, when they find themselves in the position of power, they arrogate power to themselves.
They are calling on President Bola Tinubu to prevail on the National Assembly to also contribute to the war against corruption by inviting the suspects to give account of their stewardship.
NACAT is hereby calling on President Ahmed Tinubu Bola to consolidate on his renewed trust for fiscal probity and governance accountability by prevailing and giving more impetus to the legislative to fight the horrendous financial activities of saboteurs in government.
The group says petitions have already been submitted against the suspects and urged the House to live up to its responsibilities by bringing them to book. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The Private Telecommunications and Communications Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has declared an indefinite strike effective midnight on Thursday, April 4. The union said the decision was deemed necessary due to the relentless anti-labor practices against field engineers perpetrated by subcontractors. The Telecom union disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday. According to the association, the subcontractors include Rhyme Group, Allstream Energy Solutions Limited, Uppercrest Limited, Tylium Nigeria Limited, and Specific Tools and Techniques Limited, which are purportedly engaged in projects awarded by Hawaii Technologies Nigeria Limited. The union's demands include immediate recognition of employees' fundamental rights to association, acknowledgement of the union as the negotiating body for workers' welfare, and proper remittance of membership dues. From year-end 2023, Nigeria's monetary authority had its job cut out for it, even as analysts had anticipated a challenging yet promising landscape for Nigeria's economy in 2024. Among other things, it needed to clarify the nation's interest rate policy, arrest spiraling inflation and foreign exchange volatility. In this report, News Central's Perpetual Faswami Peter assesses the policy trust of the Monetary Authority in the first quarter of 2024 and how it has been able to address pressing economic issues within its purview.
The Nigerian Naira opened 2024 at a rate of 907 Naira 1 kobo per dollar at the official market, and by the end of the month, it depreciated by a whopping 37.6% to 1,455 Naira 59 kobo, largely driven by a further devaluation of the Naira. The devaluation saw the currency lose over 33% within a single trading session, from 891 Naira 90 kobo per dollar on Friday, January 26, to 1,348 Naira 62 kobo per dollar on Monday, January 29.
Everything is on the high side. Everything, both Naira, if Nigeria can even try, our government can, let us stop of this using of dollar. Because dollar, Ugu, they are calling dollar.
To restore stability in the market and ensure the Naira finds its true value, the CBN started rolling out several guidelines and circulars, from the harmonization of reporting requirements of foreign currency exposure of banks to the removal of the allowable limit of exchange rate quoted by IMTO and a renewed guideline of international money transfer services, all in one day.
Right. I think we might actually see a bit of sanity. And I think in the next couple of days, we will actually see the extent to which some banks have excess dollar cash, right? Because they have to unwind that particular position. And if the amount is significant, we will actually feel the impact, at least in the official market.
The CBN earned itself a new name in February, Circular Bank of Nigeria. This is not unconnected to the fact that it seemed to release between 2 to 3 circulars per week, wrapping up the month with at least 13 circulars, prominent among which were circulars on cash reserve requirement framework, allowable channels for payout of BTA and PTA, foreign currency cash pooling for IOCs, revised guideline for bureau de change operators, mandatory reporting of foreign exchange transactions, and sales of forex to BDCs to meet eligible invisible transactions.
Trader like bureau de change, they are saying its capitalization is 2 billion. So if Kia is not taking what you are running away, you come and meet it in your front. So that capitalization is a huge concern. From 35 billion to 2 billion. The most worrisome one is the compulsory deposit, forcing the bureau de change to keep a huge sum of 200 million as caution deposit in court. I think that will negate even the principle of the global practices.
The CBN also started adjusting the exchange rate for goods clearance to reflect what is obtainable in the official window, starting with a 42.7% increase from 951 Naira 94 kobo per dollar to 1,356 Naira 88 kobo per dollar on the 2nd of February.
Just saw on the news that they've increased the cargo rates. So that's another problem for the new week from tomorrow. Those who have cargo already in Nigeria, they can't clear. Those cargo on water, they can't clear because of the changes. You have to inform people on time so they will know what to do. So the problem is complex.
February also saw the first meeting of the Cardoso-led Monetary Policy Committee 7 months after Nigeria's last MPC meeting. Here, the MPC hiked interest rate by 400 basis points, causing business owners, economists, and the organized private sector to complain bitterly.
What we need out of the economy is what is short-term that can actually sustain businesses, by particularly micro and small businesses. And that's why we believe that instead of seeing growth, we may begin to see the other side of it, may begin to see more companies dying.
But for financial market analysts, the MPC had no option other than maintaining a hawkish stance against inflation. At the March meeting, the MPC for that tightened its nose against inflation by 200 basis points, leaving the benchmark interest rate at 24.75%.
Raise the MPR by 200 basis points to 24.75 from 22.75%.
These contractionary monetary policies, so the rate hikes, they are not indefinite, right? So the central bank does not intend to leave these rates, or the MPC doesn't intend to leave these rates. I think that at the moment, in the short term, in the medium term, such bold moves have to be made, not only to rein in inflation, but also to restore investor confidence in the economy.
The Apex Bank wrapped up the quarter with a new set of capital thresholds for Nigerian banks, whilst also excluding retained interest from the calculation of banks' share capital.
Last year, so the banks already had in mind that truly something was going to happen in regards to capitalization this year. It's just clear that the CBN wants to have the banks inject fresh capital into their business.
While there are still concerns that the stability in the foreign exchange market is not backed up by production and is merely administrative, these policies of the Cardoso-led CBN seem to be working as the Naira has continued to appreciate in the official market. Although the policies seem to be accompanied by short-term pains, consolidation of these policies with support from the fiscal authority could turn things around for Nigerians and the Nigerian economy. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasami Peter.
Coming up, spotlight on World Autism Day. Stay with us. If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. FCT Minister EZEWUIKE slams Rivers PDP leaders declaring support for Governor Fubara. Urobo Union demands release of traditional ruler detained over Okwama killings. Telecoms workers to embark on strike Thursday over labor conditions. And former President Jacob Zuma files appeal against exclusion from South Africa's May election. Now, in 2007, the United Nations declared April 2nd of every year World Autism Awareness Day. The global body says the day will focus on sensitization on how to help those on the autism spectrum have more fulfilling life in society. News Centre's health team lead, Kelechi Okoro, reports.
Since its establishment in 2007 by the United Nations General Assembly, April 2nd has been designated as World Autism Awareness Day, a day dedicated to promoting the full realization of human rights and fundamental freedoms for individuals on the autism spectrum.
It's a neurodevelopmental disorder that affects communication, behavior, and social interaction in individuals.
In addition to medical care, Nigeria boasts several centers devoted to the care of autistic individuals. However, the absence of accurate statistics and widespread awareness poses significant hurdles to effectively managing this condition.
In our local environment in Nigeria, we need to make people to know more about it. Parents and families take it as taboo to have children with such disabilities. I have to self-study by myself to know what to do with my son. And for the past 30 years, he has developed and achieved a lot for himself.
Our focus this year is to ensure we hear the voices of autistic people from every corner of the world. Being autistic is still vastly misunderstood around the world, but through so many autistic advocates speaking up and sharing their stories of lived experience, we are moving the dial and changing the narrative to be one that is written and told by us.
According to the World Health Organization, autism remains a profoundly overlooked yet highly burdensome health issue, impacting approximately 1 in every 100 children worldwide. Lending her voice to the chorus of awareness, Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, underscores the critical importance of early diagnosis and intervention in unlocking the full potential of individuals with autism.
I recommend to the government and political bodies that health insurance should be made available for children with autism, because these therapies, before you can get the best out of these therapies, they need to be as intensive as possible, and it's a lot of money.
In keeping with the theme for World Autism Awareness Day 2024, Empowering Autistic Voices,
this is a call to action to raise awareness, advocate for support, and celebrate the unique abilities of every individual, regardless of the challenges they may face. In Lagos for News Central, I am Dr. Kelechi Okoro.
To further discuss this, I'm being joined by the founder, director, Patrick Speech and Language Center, Mrs. Dr. Akonde. Thank you very much for giving us your time. Let's begin with that report that captured it, but from your perspective, how would you describe autism, an overview of this condition, and what we need to know?
Thank you very much for having me tonight. First thing I would like to say is autism is a different brain. We say it has to do with social skills, it has to do with behavior, it has to do with communication. But first thing you want to know is that it is a different brain. Even if the child is going through all of these three, or even adding sensory overload to it, you find out that there is something unique about each and every one of them. And it's in that uniqueness that you are able to garner what works for them, what interests them, what you can use to support them to live a full and functional life. So there are four main areas you need to look at: communication, the child is not speaking; behavior, the child has an odd behavior, or the behavior that seems strange; and in the area of social skills, not playing with other children; and then sensory dysfunction, either under sensitive to light, sound, touch, taste, smell, or oversensitive to all those stimuli. So you need to know, and it's not one size fits all. You need to know what works for each individual. That is why it is called a spectrum. So anybody can be on either the low end of the spectrum or the high end of the spectrum. You need to find where that child is, and you miss that child at that point.
You manage a facility that helps these children and even adults. I've been fortunate to visit your facility. What are some of the challenges that you face in managing individuals on the autism spectrum, and how have you been able to manage them, and what are the lessons you've learned that you think the society could benefit from?
One of the first lessons I learned is that morning is anytime you wake up. We preach early intervention, saying that if the child does not come early enough, then we will not be able to support that child to live a full and functional life. We found out later on that morning is anytime the parents wake up. So if your morning is when the child is 10 years old, please don't say I'm late. Bring the child and help that child have the right support. And I'm stressing right support, because there are many wrong supports out there. There are many people out there that just go about doing what they want to do just to get funds out of the parents. But if the child has the right support and the environment is enriching, and you, the parent, have given hope, acceptance, love, joy to that child, I mean, we usually see a real change in children. And one of the major challenges is in the area of staffing. And many people do not understand what autism is. So for you to get the right member of staff to work with, we've been very fortunate to have people that have stayed with us over the years. So we've had staff that have been with us for 2 years. We're going to be 20 years in another 2 years. So we're looking to give more in terms of training. And that's one thing we've been able to mitigate against. So we started a training school. We partnered with other specialists, a speech and language therapist, a medical doctor, a behavior specialist, an occupational therapist, and we came together to give the therapists the right training that's needed for our children to be able to, overcome some of the challenges that they face as individuals living with autism. It's not a walk in the park. It's a long road.
Definitely. You talked about wrong education. Where can family members and friends and even community people who want to get a better understanding of what autism is in order to provide better support, where do they find the right information?
Well, information is everywhere now. At least we know now that we have internet, which is very, very close to us now. I mean, data is now king. You can use your phone to do what autism is. So the information is right there, out there. But to get the right therapist, the parents need to be intentional about who is coming to their home, the kind of school their children is going to, or their child is going to, and the kind of person that is going to interact with that child. So they need to ask the person coming in to support their child in the home environment to give them some form of recommendation from parents that they have worked with, and maybe present a certificate. Because for us, our course is a 3-month program, and at the end of the day, we give a certificate, and that certificate is only eligible for 2 years. It's renewable every 2 years. If you do not renew it, your face will not go on our website. So, for example, you can go to our website and search for those that we have trained and call them up and interview them, and then let them work with your child. At least you have that comfort that at least this person has gone a certain amount of training, not somebody that just jumped out of school and needed a job and just jumped into your home. So these are things that parents can mitigate against. They can look at, they can ask the therapist to give them recommendation from other parents that they've seen before. They can call us to say, oh, we are seeing your certificate being held by this person. Is this person truly, one of your students? The person passed through you, and as the person renewed, because before you renew, you have to take it through some form of continuous professional development. Go through training every 3 months. Bring somebody to, train and retrain, because we know that nobody knows what the cause of autism is. We're all struggling to understand it, and each individual is unique.
All right. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The House of Representatives has condemned the recent case of discrimination against the son of the former governor of Ogun State and 7th senator at a KFC outlet in Lagos. Chairman of the House Committee on Disability Matters spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying that denying individuals with disabilities access to public spaces is not only disrespectful, but undermines ongoing efforts at implementing Nigeria's Disability Act. He says discrimination against persons with disabilities will no longer be tolerated, irrespective of how highly placed the individuals and organizations involved are.
The case of Mr. Adebola Daniel is one in millions of other unreported cases of such abuses and injustices against the persons with disabilities. And by the way, this will no longer be tolerated by governments on all levels. And the committee is duty-bound, once again, duty-bound to investigate this issue.
Pensioners in Abia State have reacted to the controversy surrounding the payments they received from the state government over the weekend. They say the arrears covered the arrears of their pensions from June 2023 to date and not from 2014 to 2023 as is being reported. The state governor, Alex Oti, had promised to clear all arrears of salaries and pensions upon his assumption of office. News Centre's Chinwe Ugele reports that the controversy over the payment stems from the governor's Easter message, where he announced that the pension arrears payment covered 2014 to 2023.
For the first time in a very long time, retirees had cause to smile a few days to Easter as they started receiving alerts for payment of their pension arrears. However, it was a mixed feeling of excitement and confusion occasioned by their inability to reconcile their actual arrears with what was paid by the government.
Yes, I received the arrears from that of June. Otis arrears. That was the one he paid.
In the month of March, during the governor's media chat, he disclosed that efforts were being made to pay the arrears of pensions.
We have made the promise that we want to clear them, so we have to clear them.
Although most pensioners in the state have attested to receiving monies believed to be arrears, others who retired from agencies and departments are yet to get theirs. The chairman, Nigeria Union of Pensioners in Abia State, Mr. Chukwuemeka Irondi, declined comments on the development on account of not having approval for it. Further interviews with some retirees who pleaded anonymity and investigations show that the state government with the committee and executive of the union had an agreement on the modality of payment, which was not communicated to the members. Mrs. Chinyelu Okoye, a retired nurse, shares what life has been like since retirement in 2013.
Many of us were hoping when we get that, we go and look for small land, or maybe we were able to acquire land and we're building blocks, to start making them become a house, or you can move in because we're still paying rent as a civil servant. Maybe many have not finished training their children. And as we are aging, we have a lot of health challenges. We have extended family problems. And if you still have your aged parents, your relations, your children not yet settled in life.
In order to keep soul and body together during the days of non-payment of arrears, Mrs. Okoye had her side hustle, which she continued with.
I had to started with 50 beds, 100 beds, and above, supplying hotels, individuals, friends, and then God, you really use them to help me and cushion the effect of that. Those had very terrible times. It was terrible.
Like others who are still in the dark on the actual period the payment covers, she is still hopeful that the government will still pay the backlog.
So I want to believe that the arrears was for the period he started with us. If it's from 2014, the amount didn't cover that at all.
The officials of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners will have to seek means of communicating the agreement to their members in a way they will understand. In Omar Hefonu Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Still ahead, Faye sworn in as 5th president of Senegal. Find out more after the break. History has been made in Senegal with the swearing-in of Diomaye Faye as the country's new president on Tuesday. The 44-year-old swept the poll at a first-round victory on a pledge of radical reform again just 10 days after he was released from prison. News Central's Bernard Akede has details in this report.
Devant Dieu et devant la nation sénégalaise.
Having never before held an elected office in Senegal, the left-wing Pan-Africanist Bassirou Diomaye Faye has now taken the oath of office to be the 5th president of Senegal. In front of several dignitaries, which included presidents of several African countries, the new president vowed to scrupulously observe the provisions of the constitution and the law and to defend the integrity of the territory and national independence and to spare no effort to achieve African unity.
Sur le plan africain, l'ampleur des défis sécuritaires et des nombreux défis que nous devons relever nous oblige à plus de solidarité. J'entends clairement la voix des élites décomplexées qui disent haut et fort notre aspiration commune à plus de souveraineté, au développement et au bien-être.
Faye was among a group of political opponents freed from prison just 10 days before the March 24 presidential ballot under an amnesty announced by former President Sall, who had tried to delay the votes. Working with his populist mentor, Ousmane Sonko, who was barred from the election, Faye declared their priorities in his victory speech: national reconciliation, easing a cost of living crisis, and fighting corruption.
Le peuple sénégalais s'est engagé.
Faye wants to leave the regional CFA francs, which he sees as a French colonial legacy, and to invest more in agriculture with the aim of reaching food self-sufficiency. After 3 tense years and deadly unrest in the traditionally stable nation, his democratic victory was hailed from Washington to Paris via the African Union and the European Union. And on the international stage, Faye seeks to bring military-run Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger back into the fold of the regional ECOWAS bloc. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
South Africa's former president, Jacob Zuma, on Tuesday filed an appeal against a decision by the electoral officials barring him from running in general elections as political tensions mount ahead of the May polls. The Electoral Commission last week excluded the 81-year-old politician who is campaigning for a new opposition party over a 2021 contempt of court conviction. Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in jail in June 2021 after refusing to testify to a panel probing financial corruption and cronyism under his presidency. The Electoral Commission said that under the Constitution, any person who was convicted of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without the option of a fine cannot stand in an election. Up next is business.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
On business tonight, the Nigerian federal government has announced an increase in the price of natural gas for power generation companies. The new rate is set at $2.42 per metric million British thermal unit, up from the previous rate of $2.18, as Nigeria relies on gas-fired thermal power plants for over 70% of its electricity generation. This increase in gas prices may result in higher tariffs for power consumers. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority released the new domestic base price and wholesale prices for natural gas in 2024. The cost of commercial gas has also been raised to $2.92 from $2.05. The announcement was signed by the Chief Executive of the NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed. Now, the South African Revenue Service exceeded February's revised budget estimate by nearly 10 billion rand, thanks to higher than expected corporate tax collections and efforts to combat refund fraud. SARS reported a net collection of 1.41 trillion rand for the tax year ending on March 31, surpassing the Finance Minister's revised estimate of 1.3 trillion rand. These higher than budgeted collections are expected to result in a slightly improved budget deficit compared to the revised estimates for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. The strong tax collections indicate a positive outcome for government's revenue and may contribute to better fiscal stability. We also tell you that the Central Bank of Liberia has extended the deadline for the currency exchange exercise to May 15, 2024. The decision was made after an emergency meeting of the CBL Board of Governors, considering challenges such as difficult road conditions and ongoing transitional processes. The old banknotes, called the Liberian Series 1 and Liberian Series 2, printed before 2021, will remain legal tender until the new deadline. After May 15, commercial banks and rural community finance institutions will no longer accept the old banknotes for exchange. The CBL urges the public to take advantage of the extension and exchange their old banknotes. The extension aims to ensure a smooth transition to the new currency exchange system in Liberia. And that wraps up business news for tonight. Do stay with us. There is still more to come. I am Lekon Onabanjo.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money. Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Hello and welcome to sports. We start with some table tennis, where Nigeria's table tennis star Aruna Quadri has launched a fiery attack on the World Table Tennis, that's the WTT, questioning its practices after facing points deduction and an undisclosed fine. Quadri has lamented the high level of discrimination, injustice, and arbitrary sanctions against him by the WTT over his inability to participate in the 2024 World Table Tennis Championships in Korea. Africa's #1 player took to social media today questioning the penalties and fine imposed on him by the WTT, despite clearly informing them that he was incapacitated due to illness and informing them 1 month ahead of another event. The WTT was established in 2019 by the International Table Tennis Federation and organizes commercial table tennis tournaments. The player's frustration stems from the mandatory nature of these events, unpaid prize money, and what he perceives as unfair penalties. He has threatened legal action if he is denied justice by the WTT. Former Minister of Sports Sunday Dare has unveiled a new football club, Black Scorpions, in his hometown Ogbomoso in Oyo State. The club is set to compete in the Nigeria Nationwide League 1 (NLO) with plans to gain promotion to the elite division, the NPFL, in no distant time. Dare expressed his excitement on the launch of the club and emphasized his commitment to developing grassroots football in the southwest region. He stated that the aim of Black Scorpions is to provide young, talented players with the opportunity to showcase their skills and potentially make a career in professional football. The unveiling ceremony was attended by many sports stakeholders across Nigeria, politicians, and dignitaries from across Oyo State. Dare has also announced his intention to invest in infrastructure and facilities to support the development of football in the state. The international football now, and the organizers of the French Ligue 1 have celebrated Nigeria's Super Eagles and OG Nice striker Terry Murphy. Nice suffered a 1-2 home defeat to FC Nantes last weekend, but the Nigerian international made headlines in the game. He scored Nice's only goal of the encounter, his 50th goal in French Ligue 1. Murphy's Ligue 1 journey began at FC Lorient, where he scored 34 goals in 84 games and has now added 16 since initially joining Nice on loan last January. Murphy is now the third Nigerian highest goal scorer in the French league after John Utaka and Victor Ikpeba. And the Court of Arbitration for Sport has dismissed the International Boxing Association's appeal against a decision by the International Olympic Committee to withdraw its recognition as the Sports International Federation. In June, the IOC decided to strip the IBA of recognition over its failure to complete reforms on governance, finance, and ethical issues. CAS also added that the IBA had not increased its financial transparency and sustainability through diversification of revenues, nor changed its process relating to referees and judges to ensure its integrity. Rival body World Boxing said last month it will seek recognition from the Olympic organizers to replace the IBA and keep the troubled sport on the program for the 2028 Los Angeles Games. And that's all we have on sports. Up next is entertainment with Jadel Simon.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile. Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Nigerian music sensation Davido has dismissed rumors of his arrest while on tour in East Africa on Monday. Despite media reports suggesting otherwise, Davido clarified in a statement on his social media handle that he was not arrested. He emphasized having a successful tour in Uganda and Kenya before returning to Nigeria. Davido asserted that he has never faced arrest throughout his career. He also expressed intentions to pursue legal action against those responsible for spreading false information about him. And now, Scottish authorities says J.K. Rowling's remarks on the new hate crime laws aren't criminal and will take no further action. Rowling openly dared the police to arrest her on social media, reacting to laws aimed at addressing harm from hatred and prejudice. The legislation broadens protections for various groups including age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, and transgender identity. Now, while supporters commend the measure for promoting tolerance, critics like Rowling fear that they could curb free speech and overlook women's protections. Now, J.K. Rowling has voiced concerns about the legislation potentially stiffening discussions on women's and girls' rights. Despite criticism, the Scottish government defends the laws, citing the need to combat rising hatred based on the protected characteristics. That's all we can take on entertainment tonight. We'll take a short break, and when we're back, we'll bring you the updates on what's trending tonight.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Moving away from entertainment news, Ogbomosho is trending for a very tragic reason on social media. In a sad turn of events, Ogbomosho is dominating conversations on social media over reported suicide by Deputy Commissioner of Police, Bolahon Olugbemi. Reports say that Olugbemi's lifeless body was discovered dangling from a noose at his Ogbomosho residence. Mr. Olugbemi's untimely death has sent shockwaves throughout the community. As news of the incident spreads, authorities have announced plans to launch a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the sad incident. Nigerians have questions and deep concerns about this situation and have taken to social media as usual to share their thoughts. Let's take some of those reactions. Crypto Eriko is saying, first question to be answered is, was that really suicide? Is there a cause for him to commit suicide? We have another question. Okay, we have another tweet from Aprokono saying, this is serious. He was probably being threatened by a higher force and he couldn't help it. Or maybe he stepped on some toes. This is really sad. I hope a thorough investigation can be carried out to know the reason he took his own life while in active service as a DCP. We have another tweet from Lord Mule saying, sounds like an assassination. Strong men do not kill themselves that way, especially when you have a gun. Then we have our last tweet saying, waiting they all call like this. A thorough investigation needs to be done to figure out why a whole Deputy Commissioner of Police hangs himself. You know, whether you agree with these reactions or not, the tragic loss of the Deputy Commissioner Olugbemi serves as a reminder of the silent struggles that individuals within the law enforcement community may be facing. That's all for tonight on What's Trending. Share your thoughts across our social media platforms at News Central TV. I am Jadel Simon.
And that is all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. FCT Minister EZEWUIKE has slammed Rivers PDP leaders declaring support for Governor Fubara. Urhobo Union has demanded release of traditional ruler detained over Okwama killings. Telecoms workers are set to embark on strike on Thursday over labor conditions. We also brought you news that former President Jacob Zuma has filed appeal against exclusion from South Africa's May election. Would like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen, or you could follow us on social media at News Central TV. We're live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.